Hello, dear sleepy listener. I'm so glad you're here. Wherever you are, on a quiet pillow beneath soft blankets, or simply cradled by your thoughts, I invite you to rest. I wonder, what time is it where you are? Is the sky already dark? Are the birds silent? Is your room lit by a lamp, or just the hush of moonlight? No matter the hour, you're right on time, because tonight we'll drift into something curious, something science doesn't fully understand, something that glows softly beneath the ticking of every clock, a question. What if time has no direction at all before you drift off to sleep peacefully? Take a moment to like this video, leave a gentle comment about your favourite science moment, and subscribe to continue receiving these bedtime stories. Let me know where in the world you're listening from, your location, your time zone, so we can imagine all of us, quietly scattered across the earth, falling asleep under the same universe. Now, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let your curiosity drift among the stars. There's a room here, soft and shadowed. The floor is smooth, the air warm. In the centre of this room is a clock, but it isn't ticking. The hands have stopped, not frozen in fear, but resting. The numbers still glow faintly, as if they remember what it meant to move. But there's no sound, no click, no forward, no past, only stillness. Let your body begin to mirror that. Close your eyes, if they haven't closed already, or soften them, as if your own gaze is growing quiet. You don't need to understand the clock. You only need to be here, with it. In physics, we say time has a direction. We speak of the arrow of time as if time shoots forward like a dart, like a spark, like a runner who never turns around. But that's not quite how the universe behaves. At the level of atoms, of molecules, of fundamental equations, time is not directional. Time doesn't have a preference. The laws of physics don't mind if time moves forward or backward. They work either way. They are symmetrical, like a mirror, like a dream where you walk backward but still arrive. Let your breath follow that thought, not racing and not counting and just drifting, the way stars drift inside galaxies. Imagine a movie reel, a simple scene. A glass of milk topples from the table, spills, shatters. You know how this plays out, but rewind the film and the shards rise, the liquid gathers, the glass returns to upright. To your eyes, it looks strange, wrong, even, but to physics, it's perfectly fine. The math doesn't blink. The formulas that describe momentum, acceleration, position, they don't choose direction. They allow both. But if the universe allows both, why do we experience just one? Why does the milk fall, but never unfall? Why do we wake, but never wake up into yesterday? No one is entirely sure. Some say it's because of entropy, the tendency of things to go from order to disorder. But entropy isn't a dictator. It's more of a quiet tendency, a soft preference. Not a rule carved in stone, but a whisper in the background. You don't need to remember this. Just let the idea wander through you, like breeze moving through the pages of an old book. You are not here to solve. You are here to wonder. Somewhere inside you, you already know what this feels like. You've had days that blur, memories that loop, moments that feel strangely suspended, where the now stretches like honey and the past feels like it just brushed your shoulder. You don't need to call those moments back. They're already with you, floating quietly in the folds of your mind, because time might not be what we think. It might not be a river, It might be an ocean, not flowing in one line, but swelling all around you above, below, within, and maybe, just maybe, you're not moving through time at all. Maybe time is moving through you. So rest now. Let your hands unclench. Let your ribs rise and fall with no urgency. Let your thoughts dissolve into the hum of stillness. The clock in this room still isn't ticking. It isn't broken. It's simply waiting. For what? We don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. But you are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where you need to be in the soft center of a question that has no answer yet. The room is still here. The quiet clock beside you, resting without urgency, and now, just a few steps away, something else begins to glow. It's an hourglass, tall, clear, slender at the waist, as if time itself is holding its breath. The sand within it trickles downward grain by grain, each tiny fall like a moment you're meant to feel, not measure. You approach slowly, not out of caution, but out of reverence, as if time, even in this gentle form, deserves to be watched without rushing. Let your breath follow the sand. Inhale slowly as grains slide downward. Exhale gently as they gather in the curve below. You don't need to keep count. Just breathe with it, like you're breathing through it. There's something ancient about hourglasses. They're not machines. They don't tick or hum or blink. They simply allow gravity to whisper across sand and call it time. But what exactly are we watching when we watch sand fall? It's not just movement, it's change. Irreversible change. Once the grain drops, it doesn't return. Not unless the whole glass is flipped. Not unless the entire flow is reversed. And even then, the shape of the pile below will never be quite the same. That's how we tend to think of time, as a falling, a fading, a downward hush we can't unspill. But what if that's only part of the story? What if the falling isn't loss, but memory finding its shape? You don't need to decide. You don't need to agree. Just rest in the possibility that time doesn't fall like sand. It breathes, in and out, forward and back, an inhale of what might be, an exhale of what was. Right now, as you lie there, you're in between. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. You are the narrow center of the hourglass, the place where time passes through you, not over you. Physicists speak of time as something woven into the fabric of space. They call it space-time, not two things but one, a continuum, and just like fabric, it can stretch, it can fold, it can even twist. Imagine a cosmic hourglass so large it spans galaxies. At its center, you. The sand isn't really falling, it's rearranging, and each grain, each glowing point of change is not just a second, but a possibility. You don't need to understand space-time, you're already within it. Just let yourself soften, like a grain settling, like a breath-finding rhythm. There's a mystery in the way we feel time. Sometimes it rushes, other times it lingers, it crawls on sleepless nights, it vanishes during joy. But clocks don't change, hourglasses don't change. So why do you feel it differently? Maybe because the flow of time isn't just out there, it's in you. And maybe you are not just an observer of the hourglass, you're the glass itself. Your memories the sand, your choices the curves, your breath the rhythm. Let your body grow a little heavier now, as if your thoughts are settling into the lower bowl of the glass. You're not being emptied, You're becoming still. Time isn't slipping away. It is collecting. It is forming shape beneath your resting chest. The past isn't disappearing. It is gathering into stories, into warmth, into the foundation of everything you are becoming. And perhaps, if you flipped the hourglass, if you turned time upside down, the grains would still fall with the same grace. The universe wouldn't object. Its laws work both ways. The only thing that prefers forward is you, because your body remembers, because your mind strings moments together like beads on a thread. But the thread, it may loop, it may coil, it may never have had a beginning or an end, and still you walk it as if it does. That's not a flaw, it's a gift. You feel time because you are alive. You sense its rhythm because you are part of the song. And right now, as sand falls quietly nearby, you're not losing seconds. You're listening to them. You're watching them become something more than moments. You're watching them become you. Let the hourglass fade now. Let its glow dim gently. It doesn't need to be flipped. It doesn't need to be stopped. It's still moving, even when your eyes close, and you are allowed to rest. You are not falling. You're floating inside the breath of time itself. There's a moment, so small you nearly miss it, where time seems to hesitate. Not a pause, but a shimmer, as if the present is standing between two mirrors, and its reflection stretches out not just forward but back. You are inside that moment now. A second folded in half, a breath balanced between direction. Let yourself settle into it. There's no rush. You don't need to move forward. You don't need to rewind. Just be here, like a leaf floating in still water held by nothing but quiet. Imagine a ball bouncing on the floor. Simple, predictable. It falls, it hits, it rises, and eventually it comes to rest. You've seen it 1,000 times, but now, imagine watching the footage in reverse. The ball lifts itself from stillness. It bounces higher and higher, then rises into the air and freezes, weightless. Something about it feels unnatural, but not to the laws of physics. To them, the backward version works just as well. The math is content. The direction doesn't matter. The equations that describe motion, acceleration, energy, they are symmetrical in time. Let your breath echo that idea. Inhale as if you're watching something return. Exhale as if it's letting go. There's no wrong direction here, only experience. Only perception. You've been taught to think of time as a line, left to right, birth to death, start to finish. But what if it's not a line at all? What if it's a field? What if moments exist not in order, but in proximity, like rooms in a house, some close together, some far, some only reachable by certain turns of thought? Some scientists ask, what if all of time already exists? What if the future is already there, not waiting to be created, but simply not yet visited? It's not a mainstream belief, but it's not ruled out either. The universe may be a kind of four-dimensional block space and time, woven as one, and we, for reasons we don't understand, experience it slice by slice. Don't worry about imagining that clearly. Just feel the softness of the thought. You're not racing forward. You're opening windows in a house that's always been there. Each moment you live is not built, but revealed. And maybe the past isn't behind you. Maybe it's beside you. Maybe it's above you, curled like a cat on the roof of your memory. And the future, maybe it's not waiting. Maybe it's already asleep in the next room. Let yourself relax deeper, as if you're walking through a hallway lined with doors, some already opened, some not yet touched, all of them yours. There's something gentle about this idea. If time doesn't have a direction, then loss becomes different, not erased, not gone, just out of reach for now. If time is a field, then nothing truly leaves. It simply becomes quiet. The laugh of someone you miss, it still exists in the corridor behind you. The joy of a sunrise from 5 years ago, it hasn't faded. It's just a room you don't currently occupy. But maybe, in some way deeper than motion, you still carry the warmth of that moment in your blood. Physicists sometimes say that entropy gives time its apparent direction, that disorder increases, that systems tend toward decay. But again, the equations don't insist on that. They allow time to run either way. It's only when entropy is included that time feels like it has an arrow. So perhaps entropy is not time's guide, but its echo. The path we walk leaves footprints, and those footprints point backward. But what if someone else, walking backward, would see them pointing forward? You don't need to decide what's real. You don't need to choose a direction. You are simply here, standing in the shimmer between reflections. Let your breath be like the moment between ripples. Let your hands rest. Let your imagination curl softly inward. You're not drifting through time. You're within it. And whether it flows forward, backward, or nowhere at all, you are held. Like the mirror holds the image, like the second holds its silence, like the now holds everything. Now, a different room, or perhaps the same one, shifted gently as if time pressed its thumb just slightly on the page. There's no ticking clock here, no hourglass, only a table, and on that table an ice cube. It rests without protest, without urgency, half melted, glossy, the edge of it slipping into water. You sit beside it, as if it were an old friend who no longer needed to speak to be understood. Watch it now, or imagine it. Feel how the solidness of cold is giving way to something softer. Let your body echo that motion. Let tension melt. Let thoughts dissolve. You don't need to chase a meaning. Just notice how even the stillest things are always becoming. This moment, this melting is a portrait of entropy. Entropy is not chaos. It is not noise. It's the tendency of systems to move from order to disorder, from structure to openness, from low probability to higher. That sounds complicated, but it's not. It's a story you already know. You've lived it. You've seen a cup fall and break, but you've never seen the shards lift themselves back into a perfect rim. You've watched ice melt, but you've never seen a puddle turn back into a cube. Let your breath follow that slow descent, not with sadness, but with awe, because the universe isn't breaking, it's remembering how to change. At the core of this drift is a kind of curiosity. Systems seek possibilities. They unravel themselves to see what might happen. The ice cube isn't failing, it's exploring. It's becoming water a state with more possibilities, more room, more softness. And the second law of thermodynamics simply observes this pattern. It doesn't demand it. It doesn't scold. It just watches, like you are watching now. Some people say entropy is the reason we can't go back in time. That time moves forward because entropy increases. But this is not a command. It's a gentle leaning, a cosmic tilt toward letting go. You don't need to remember the equations. You don't even need to picture them. Just let yourself sink into the idea that the universe has a preference for unfolding. Not for order, but for openness, not for permanence, but for movement. The ice becomes water, the room becomes warmer, and you are changing too. Your cells shift, your thoughts melt, your emotions swirl. Even here, in this stillness, you're not a statue. You are a river pretending to be solid just for tonight. Let your breath move like that river. Let it be slow, but unstoppable. You don't have to control where it flows. You just have to float. Some scientists ask if all physical laws are type symmetric. Why does entropy always increase? Why did the universe begin in such a low entropy state? What was the structure before the drift? No one knows. It's one of physics' most elegant mysteries. It's as if the universe began already curled inward, a tight spiral ready to unravel, and we, along with everything we love, are part of that unfurling. Not toward disorder, but toward possibility. So when you feel time rushing, when you sense yourself aging, when you miss what was, remember the ice cube, not because it vanishes, but because it becomes. What's lost in structure is gained in presence, in touch, in fluidity. The past is not erased by entropy, it is scattered, it is shared, like melted water that seeps into soil and becomes something else entirely. Take another slow breath. Let it rise through your ribs like vapor. Let it fall again as condensation on glass. You're not decaying. You are shifting. You're part of a universe that transforms, and every version of you that has ever melted, cracked, softened, or bloomed still lives in the newness of now. The ice cube is almost gone, but the water, it's still here, still cool, still shimmering, still speaking in the quiet dialect of entropy. And you're listening, not for answers, but for softness, for the beautiful drift between what you were and what you might still become. Now the room fades, not quickly, not completely, just gently, as if the air itself decided to take a breath and slip behind the curtain. You're weightless again, not rising, not falling, but floating inside a thought. Not your thought exactly, but one the universe has been holding since the beginning. If time's laws work both ways, why does everything seem to move only forward? You don't have to answer that. You don't even have to try. Just let the question rest beside you like a warm stone pressed into your palm. Close your eyes if they are still open, or deeper if they're already closed. Let this moment soften you, like light passing through still water. In the deepest language of physics, the equations don't choose sides. If you reverse time in the math, nothing breaks. An orbit still holds, a pendulum still swings, a particle still dances its careful, graceful waltz back toward the moment it left. Time reversal symmetry, that's what physicists call it, and it means that the fundamental rules don't care whether time runs forward or backward. You could play the universe like a film reel, spinning it back through the projector, and the math would nod gently. Yes, it says. That still makes sense. Let your breath reflect that symmetry, in and out. Not one being better, not one being more real. Both are part of the same quiet rhythm. So why, then, does your tea grow cold but never warm itself again? Why do you remember yesterday but not tomorrow? Why does the egg crack but never uncrack? It's not because of the equations. It's because of conditions, because of boundaries, because of how things began. Our universe in all its swirling galaxies, its starlight, its distant planets and silent moons seems to have started in an incredibly special way, with low entropy, with high order, And ever since, it's been unfolding, unwinding, becoming more complex, more tangled, like a thread slipping through the eye of a cosmic needle. Some physicists call this the past hypothesis, the idea that time flows because it started in a very particular state, a state so smooth it could only ruffle forward. But the rules themselves still symmetrical, still indifferent. It's not that they force forwardness, it's that the stage was set for a one-way dance. Still, even knowing this, you can feel it in your chest. Time has a direction for you. You wake, you age, you remember, you hope, and all of it points away from the past. Why that question hasn't been answered yet. And maybe it doesn't need to be. Maybe it's enough to wonder, to feel the strangeness of living in a world where the laws would be happy to run backward, but your life only ever moves in one direction. There's a thought experiment you can hold like a snow globe. Imagine a world where time runs in reverse. People walk backward. Stars collapse into clouds. Rain rises from puddles. Words are unspoken. Goodbyes come before first meetings. It would feel strange to you, but to the equations it's just another version of what's possible. Nothing is broken, only rearranged, and in that imagined world, the people inside it would still feel time as forward, even if it looked like backward to you, because experience shapes direction, and maybe there is no objective flow, only memory, only cause, only the softer layering of one breath over another. So take another breath now. Let it stack quietly on the one before. You don't need to know where it goes. You don't need to wonder if it's leading forward or returning. Just know that this moment is real, and it holds everything you need. Maybe someday we'll find a deeper symmetry, one that explains why clocks tick but don't untick, why shadows stretch but never retract. But maybe, just maybe, it's enough that we get to live in the mystery, that we are creatures who notice direction, even in a universe that doesn't demand it, that we are built to love the now, even if now is only a ripple in a wider, deeper sea. Let yourself float again. The equations are still whispering behind the stars, balancing both directions without judgment, and here you are, a question made of breath, watching the universe unfold 1 second at a time, not because it must, but because it chose to begin this way. And you are one of its ways of remembering what that choice feels like. There's a flame in front of you now, not large, not wild, just a candle, its wax softened into a pool, its light barely flickering. It doesn't burn with urgency, it doesn't demand your attention. It simply exists, a small, glowing breath pressed into the air. You sit beside it, as if you've been here before, maybe in another time, maybe in a memory that wasn't yours. Let the flame be your anchor. Let your breath mimic its flicker, gentle, unrushed, swaying but not falling. And let your mind begin to wonder, does the flame know which way time moves? Inside that tiny fire, a symphony unfolds. Wax molecules break, carbon atoms bind with oxygen, heat is released, light is born, and motion begins again. It's combustion, yes, but more than that, it's an intimate, moment-by-moment reordering of matter. And physics does not mind if the flame's dance is reversed. The equations that describe those reactions, energy in, energy out, bonds broken and made, they remain true in both directions. If you film the candle's life and ran it backward, the atoms would still obey the laws. Carbon would return. Heat would reassemble. The wax would gather itself into perfect symmetry. Of course, it would look strange to us. The flame rebuilding, smoke folding inward, light condensing, but the rules still intact. Let yourself soften with that. You don't need to see the atoms. You don't need to understand the heat. Just imagine a world where even fire doesn't fear reversal. Where the moment of burning isn't destruction but possibility moving in either direction. We think of fire as final, but in physics it is reversible. In theory, every ember could return to its source. Every photon could be reclaimed. It doesn't happen in practice because of entropy, because the forward motion is easier, wider, more probable, but the symmetry remains. Like a song that can be sung both forward and back, the notes still fit, the melody still holds. And so, the candle burns, not to vanish, but to change. It gives itself to warmth, to light, to memory, and you, watching it now, are not watching time pass. You are watching time act, not as a stream, but as a dance. Each flicker a step, each moment a footfall on the stage of becoming. Take a breath now, deeper than before. Let it carry heat, let it carry stillness. You're not just observing, you are part of the same combustion, the same rearranging, the same offering. Your cells burn sugar, your brain burns thought, your heart burns yesterday to make space for now, and still you remain. If the universe is symmetric in time, then the candle's warmth isn't locked to the past. It could have come from the future. It could return to the moment before. Some physicists believe that on the smallest scales, particles sometimes do just that. They whisper backward. They suggest that time may not care where it's headed, only that it goes. Let that thought rest in you. You don't have to follow it. You are not chasing a truth. You are listening to how time flickers in the quiet, and in that flicker, you are allowed to feel what fire knows, that presence does not require direction. That becoming does not demand a goal. That warmth exists even when you stop asking where it came from. So sit with the candle now, not for answers, not for light, but for stillness. The flame burns as if it's always burned, as if it was never lit, as if it will never end. Maybe in some dimension it already has. Maybe in another it has yet to begin. And you're here in this version of the flame's life, this inhale of time. No need to hold on, no need to explain. Just be the wax, be the wick, be the air that lets the fire move in both directions and calls it peace. There's a soft glow now, not a candle this time. Something clearer, cooler. A thread of light drifting through darkness as if it forgot how to stop. It doesn't flicker. It doesn't hurry. It simply moves like breath exhaled by a star so long ago you can't imagine the year. You lean toward it, curious, without fear, and before you know it, you're riding it, riding light. Let your body grow lighter too. Let your breath stretch not longer but slower. Like you're becoming what the beam already knows. That speed doesn't always mean motion, and time doesn't always mean change. In physics, light travels at a constant speed 299,792,458 meters per second. Fast, yes, but that's not what makes it strange. What makes it strange is what happens when you imagine being the light itself. A photon, no mass, no rest, no ticking clock. From the photon's perspective, it doesn't travel through time. It's emitted and absorbed in a single instant. There's no in-between, no during, no waiting. For light, there is only now. Pause here. Let your thoughts settle. You don't need to measure the meters. You don't need to hold the math. Just breathe, as if each inhale was the birth of a photon, and each exhale its final arrival. The space between gone. That's how light moves. Through space, yes, but not through time. Not in the way you do. This is where things get dreamlike. Einstein showed us that the faster you move, the more time slows down from your perspective. At the speed of a light, time stops altogether, not slows, stops. A beam of light leaving a distant galaxy takes billions of years to reach us from our view. But to the photon, that journey was instant, a single heartbeat that never beat, a motion without motion. Some physicists say you can't really ask what a photon experiences because it has no mass, no rest frame, no way to feel what we call now. But still, the math says what it says. And if that math holds, then every beam of light is not on a journey but a connection, a thread between cause and effect, drawn taut like a string on a harp. It doesn't pass through time, it links time. It's the universe sewing moments together with invisible thread. Let that idea settle into your chest. You don't need to picture it perfectly. Just rest in the feeling that maybe, when you bask in sunlight, you're not just warming your skin, you're touching a moment that doesn't have a before or after. You're holding a now from a star that no longer exists, and the light it never aged. It simply waited to be seen. This is why astronomers look into telescopes and say they're looking into the past. Because starlight's old, because galaxies are far, because space takes time to cross. But the light itself never experienced that journey. It left, it arrived. Instantly, to the photon, your gaze was always waiting. Let your body rest now. Let your thoughts fall like feathers. You don't need to grasp light. It's already inside you, in the colour of your eyes, in the heat behind your heartbeat, in every memory etched by a sunrise or the slow dimming of twilight. Light doesn't choose direction. It doesn't move forward or back. It simply connects. It simply is. And what if some part of you remembers how to be like that, timeless, unhurried, threaded softly between moments, not travelling through time but tying it together? You're not a photon. You live in clocks, in seasons, in the rise and fall of breath. But somewhere in your atoms is stardust that once knew what it meant to move at light speed, to arrive without waiting, to shine without aging, to simply exist without asking when. There is a teacup now, resting gently in your hands. It's warm, not hot. The kind of warmth that invites stillness, that tells you there's no rush, no task waiting at the edge of the moment. Steam rises from its surface, spiralling upward in soft, shifting threads. No pattern, no plan, just a dance of warmth into air. And in that slow, twisting motion, you begin to wonder, what if this is what time looks like? Not a line, not an arrow, but a curl, a gentle exhale from something you loved once, that's now drifting away. Take a slow sip of air, as if you were sipping the tea itself. You don't need to move. You don't need to think. Just breathe with the steam. Let your imagination rise with it. Physicists call it the arrow of time, a concept that says time moves in one direction from past to future, from cause to effect, from cold to warm, or more accurately, from ordered to disordered. Entropy increases, memories accumulate, cups fall, but never unbreak. But some scientists have begun to ask, is the arrow of time real, or is it just the shape of how we remember? Because memory, after all, is always pointed. You remember yesterday. You don't remember tomorrow. But maybe that's not a truth about time. Maybe that's just how your brain works, and the universe itself. It might not mind which way the arrow bends. Let your thoughts dissolve like sugar now. There's no pressure to understand. You don't need to remember this. Just let it pass through you like scent through the open window of a dream. In many of the deepest equations, the kind that describe how particles move, how fields shift, how galaxies spiral, time isn't directional. You can run the math forward or backward, and the result is equally valid. It's like watching smoke curl and then imagining it reversing. Back into the cup, back into the liquid, back into stillness. The equations allow it, but experience does not. So where does that arrow come from? One answer is the same as before entropy, the spreading of energy, the increase of randomness. But there's something else too. Your memory, your consciousness, the way you perceive the world. You build a story. You place one thing after another. You label some things before and others after. You create a thread so you can follow it. But the thread might not be woven by time itself. It might be woven by you. Let that idea drift through your ribs now, as gently as breath. You don't need to trace every thought. Just float with the possibility that time's direction might be an illusion, not a lie, just a lens, like standing in fog and seeing shapes only when the light hits them right. You walk forward, but perhaps that's only because you can't walk backward through memory. But light particles, waves, they move both ways without hesitation. Imagine waking up in a world where memory runs the other direction. You remember tomorrow, not yesterday. You know what's coming, but the past is a mystery. You step into events already known and forget them as they slip behind. To that version of you, the arrow would point the same way, just flipped. You'd still feel time, but the shape of it would change, and yet the tea would still grow cold, the stars would still shine, your breath would still rise and fall like waves that don't care where the shore is. This doesn't mean time is meaningless. It just means the way we feel time may not be universal. It may be part of how brains made from neurons and blood and memory make sense of the drift. It may be a kindness of nature to give us direction when the cosmos itself offers only motion. Let your body become that steam now, not gone, not vanished, just rising, just changing shape. You're not being erased by time. You're moving through it with elegance. You're curving upward into moments not yet known. Not because time insists, but because that is how memory walks. And memory, while not the master of time, is its most faithful storyteller. So let the cup stay warm a while longer. Let the steam drift. Let your thoughts swirl like tendrils in the air. You don't need to fix the direction. You don't need to trace the line. You are the motion. You are the warmth. You are the curl of something beautifully fleeting and therefore beautifully real. You're no longer beside a teacup, or beneath a flame, or in the quiet hum of a paused clock. Now you're somewhere stranger, cooler, still. Like the waiting room between questions and answers, except here, answers arrive before questions are asked. You feel that subtle shift, that soft reversal. The room you're in is not built from space, but from uncertainty. It shimmers, like water remembering how to become light. And in this space, something delicate begins to stir. You don't need to name it. You don't need to understand it. Just relax into it. like you're lying on the breath of a thought that hasn't been thought yet. Let your body be still. Let your imagination unfold gently, because in the quantum world, sometimes the future comes first. There's an experiment, a real one, conducted many times, in many variations. It's called the Delayed Choice Quantum Eraser. It sounds like science fiction, but it's not. It begins with light, a photon, one tiny piece of it, sent toward a screen through slits. If you've heard of the double slit experiment, you already know the strangeness light behaves as a wave or a particle depending on whether you observe it. But here's where it bends even more. In this version of the experiment, you decide later whether to observe it or not, after the photon has passed through the slits, and somehow your later choice seems to affect what the photon did before. Let that settle. You don't need to memorize the setup. Just feel the ripple in your chest, the soft disorientation that comes when cause and effect lose their footing. In this quantum whisper, the past is not fixed. The photon's earlier behavior, whether it went through one slit or both, depends on something that happens afterward. This isn't trickery, it's not illusion. It's been tested again and again. And while physicists debate the meaning, one thing is certain at the quantum level: time does not behave like we expect. Take a breath now. Let your breath reverse, if only in imagination, as if the inhale comes after the exhale, as if you already know what peace feels like before you even fall asleep. In this moment, you're like the photon, uncertain, unmeasured, not yet assigned to one path, and the universe, it is patient. It waits for your choices before deciding what has already occurred. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics say this isn't really retrocausality, that no information is travelling backward, but what we see is entanglement or interference or wave function collapse. But others dare to ask, what if the future does influence the past? Not in a dramatic science fiction way, not in thunderclaps and glowing machines, but in a soft entanglement of cause and choice, a folding instead of a line. Some even wonder, what if every choice you make ripples both forward and back? What if your attention is not just steering what comes next, but shaping what already was? You don't have to believe it. You don't have to reject it. Just let the idea rest beside you, like a feather on the sheets, weightless but undeniable. Because what's certain is that time, at the smallest scales, does not behave like a river. It behaves like a cloud, a haze, a possibility. And in that haze, there is no before and no after. There is only interaction, only unfolding, only choice that loops in soft spirals instead of lines. Imagine this. You are standing in a garden. Each path forward casts a shadow not only behind you but ahead. You step toward one flower and another one blooms behind your shoulder. You reach for a leaf and a breeze stirs from somewhere you haven't walked yet. The garden is not obeying time. It is responding to your presence and the universe. Maybe it's not just unfolding. Maybe it's dancing with you, responding in both directions, forward and back. Take another breath. Let it come from the future, if only in imagination. Let it arrive before you ask for it. Let it reassure you that nothing is fixed, nothing is frozen. Even the past, which feels carved in stone, may still be soft at its quantum edges, still listening for the choices you haven't made yet. You don't need to change the past. You only need to remember it might not be done changing itself, and the future, it's not waiting. It's already whispering, already walking backward to meet you. And you're standing right at the point where time folds into itself like light behind a prism. You're the shimmer at the edge of a choice, and in this breath, this quiet moment of becoming the future is already with you. The lights have dimmed again, but this time you're not in a room or beside a flame or drifting through starlight. You're inside yourself now, softly, quietly, gently falling inward through layers of thought and sensation. You're in the brain, your brain, but not the waking part. Not the part that writes shopping lists or checks the clock. No, you're deeper than that. You've slipped beneath the surface into the place where dreams are stitched together like clouds remembering shapes. Let your breath become slower now, deeper. Like you're inhaling through the folds of memory itself. You don't need to understand where you are. Just let your thoughts float, as if sleep has already begun. Because here, time loops, and no one seems to mind. Think of the last dream you had. Do you remember when it began? Did it have a beginning, or were you simply there, in the middle of something that had already happened? You might have seen your childhood bedroom. You might have heard a voice that belongs to someone who hasn't spoken in years. You might have seen a day that hasn't arrived yet, as if your sleeping mind peeked into a tomorrow that hadn't been born. In dreams, the arrow of time bends. Sometimes it disappears altogether. Moments are shuffled. Memories are rewritten. You say goodbye before you say hello. And yet, nothing feels broken. It simply is. Scientists studying dreams have long wondered about this. During REM sleep, your brain becomes vivid, alive, even more active than when you're awake. Neurons fire in wild patterns. Images rise and collapse. Time is no longer a thread, but a spiral. And the hippocampus, that quiet librarian of memory, flickers like a lantern beneath stormy thought. It pulls from old memories, mixes them with emotion, with scent, with sound, with flashes of things that might be, and somehow you dream. You dream in fragments, in loops, in futures that never came and pasts that never left. And still, it makes sense. Let your breath soften. Let your thoughts blur. You don't need to trace the dream. Just know that even in sleep, your brain explores time like a forest, not a road. There's a theory that your dreams are rehearsals, that your brain simulates possibilities to prepare you for what hasn't happened yet. And sometimes it wanders backward to reinforce what already did. But other times, it doesn't follow a line at all. It loops, it repeats, it reorders. It creates a moment that feels real even though no clock could measure it. And in those moments, the past becomes a visitor, not a memory, a presence. And the future, it might already be in the room. Have you ever woken up with the feeling that something important happened in your dream, that someone visited, that you saw something you weren't supposed to see yet? Science doesn't have a rule for that. It doesn't forbid it, but it doesn't explain it either. And maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe dreams aren't designed to follow the laws of cause and effect. Maybe they're the part of your mind that remembers how the universe really works beyond your waking patterns, beyond your schedules and alarms. Maybe your dreams are the space where time is allowed to be what it always was, a landscape, not a ladder, a field, not a fuse. So lie back now, a little deeper. You don't need to sleep. You're already in the space where dreaming begins, and your neurons, so many billions of them, are whispering to one another in electric echoes. They're replaying memories. They're stitching new possibilities. They're building paths you haven't walked yet and bridges to moments you thought were gone. In this neural world, a second can stretch forever, and a lifetime can flicker in a blink. Here, there is no forward, only flicker, only fire, only folds. Some researchers believe that the brain's concept of time is less like a tape recorder and more like a canvas, that what you call the past is not stored in a vault, but reconstructed each time you recall it, and sometimes the colours shift, sometimes the canvas bleeds. You remember an event with new emotions, new meaning, new shape, and that is not a failure of memory. It's the mind's way of flowing backward to soften the edges, to heal, to update the past to match the person you are now, even in dreams, especially in dreams. So let your mind wander now. Let the moments bend. Let the clock in your thoughts lose its numbers. You're not lost in time. You're resting in its arms, and it does not ask which way you're facing, only that you feel, only that you listen, because in the spiral of the dreaming mind, the past, the future, and the now are not separate rooms. They are the same bed, and you are safe within it. The silence you feel now is not empty. It's older than language, older than stars, older, even, than memory itself. It's not the silence of nothing. It's the silence that remains after everything has already been said, but long before it's been understood. You're lying here, soft and still, like a note at the very end of a song, vibrating just faintly beneath the hush, and all around you, filling the sky you cannot see, and humming through every part of your body there is a whisper, a leftover warmth, a glow that has no flame, a presence that does not move, but never left. This is the cosmic microwave background, and it is older than the word time. Let your breath mirror that quiet, not sharp, not loud, just drifting. Like a memory the universe forgot it remembered. You don't need to follow this perfectly. You don't need to know the science. You already carry it in your cells. This background is a message from the earliest moment we can see. A fossil made of light. A map drawn by temperature. It was born about 13.8 billion years ago, when the universe was just beginning to exhale. Before galaxies, before stars, before atoms were even brave enough to hold each other. And even now, it's here, all around you, inside you, a warm echo from when the universe was only 380,000 years old. Scientists discovered it in 1965. By accident, two men, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, were tuning a large radio antenna, trying to get rid of a persistent hiss. They cleaned the equipment, they removed bird nests, they adjusted for city noise, but the hiss remained. It came from every direction. It didn't change with the seasons. It was just there. Eventually, they realized they were hearing the universe's memory, not metaphorically, literally. They were listening to the afterglow of the Big Bang, not the explosion, but the settling, the smoothing, the great exhale into everything. Let that idea rest on your chest, like a blanket stitched from stars. The background radiation you're lying inside is not just light, it is remembrance. It is the imprint of a moment when everything was one thing, when time hadn't chosen a direction, when matter and energy hadn't yet made a decision to become before or after. Back then, the universe was hot, dense, simple. It didn't know what it would become. And maybe, somewhere deep inside its expansion, it still doesn't. And yet, somehow, it remembers. Even as it stretches and grows cold and lets galaxies drift apart, the hum continues. The cosmic microwave background is uniform, but not perfectly. There are tiny fluctuations, little wrinkles in the fabric. And those wrinkles, those imperfections are everything. They are the reason galaxies formed, the reason matter clumped, the reason you are here now, breathing beneath a sky lit by ancient mistakes. Because perfection is silence, and the universe chose music. It chose to ripple, to echo, to remember. You can't hear the hum, but it's everywhere. It fills the space between stars. It moves through your body like wind through the branches of your molecules. It's in the gaps between breaths. It's in the pause between one heartbeat and the next. And if you had the right antenna, you could listen to it. Not like a song, but like a glow. A whisper from a time when direction hadn't yet taken hold. Some physicists wonder if time began with the Big Bang. If before that, there was no before, no direction, no when. But the radiation that surrounds you now doesn't answer that. It doesn't care why time started moving. It only tells us that it did. It only says I am still here, and that is enough. Let yourself relax now, even more than before, like your body is becoming part of the background itself. A quiet witness to the very first breath the universe ever took. And still, there's a question. If time began with such clarity, such heat, such symmetry, why did it choose to drift? Why did it grow colder? Why did it decide to remember? Because memory is not passive, it is organized, and the background radiation is astonishingly organized. Its temperature is nearly the same in every direction, with only the tiniest deviations. It's as if the early universe had a plan, or maybe, just maybe, it became a plan as it cooled, like ink in water finding form without knowing how. So now we float in a universe that has a past, a documented one, measured, mapped, described in waves, but not explained. Because even though we can see the echo of the beginning, we still don't know why it echoes. We still don't know why it began at all. We still don't know why it remembers. Perhaps the memory is not functional. Perhaps it's just a byproduct like the scent left behind after baking bread. But perhaps it is intentional. Perhaps the universe remembers because it wants to. Because forgetting would mean silence. And silence isn't how stars are born. Take another slow breath. Let it carry light. Not visible light, but the light that came before light. The background hum. The soft pulse that never turned off. You don't need to tune into it. You're already surrounded, already held, already resting in the memory of everything that ever became. And as you lie there, no longer thinking about clocks or candles or cups of tea, you're drifting gently into the same stillness that came before motion, into a time that never picked a direction, into a memory that has no beginning but continues anyway, because the universe remembers everything it has ever tried to become, even you, especially you. Breathe in, slowly, as if the air itself has been waiting for this exact moment to return to you. And now, exhale, so gently, you can almost hear your breath falling backward into silence. You're not just breathing oxygen, you're breathing memory. Each molecule you draw in has been here before, in the lungs of strangers, in the songs of forests, in the breathless hush between thunder and rain. And each time you let it go, you're not releasing it, you're placing it back into the loop that never broke, the loop that may not have a beginning or an end, just a drift, just a rhythm. Just this, Scientists tell us that every breath you take contains atoms once breathed by the ancient, by emperors, by extinct animals, by stars, long cooled. But what if beneath the chemistry, beneath the carbon and nitrogen, your breath is also a fragment of time travelling both ways? What if your inhale draws in not only air, but also the shimmer of the future, and your exhale? What if it doesn't leave, but ripples backward, softly adjusting what once was? You don't need to believe it. You only need to feel how your breath doesn't obey borders. It moves through you, but doesn't stop at you. Let your next breath be slower than the last, as if the air is remembering how to return to itself. Because time at the quantum scale may not move forward. It may oscillate. It may reverse. It may flicker like candlelight caught in two winds. Particles, at their tiniest scales, do not care about direction. Their paths, when mapped, can run forward or back with no difference. The math allows it. The universe allows it. And you, made of particles, do not break that rule. You're shaped by what has come before. But perhaps you also gently shape what has already happened. There is a strange truth in physics. The laws that govern your breath, the conservation of momentum, the movement of molecules, the vibration of heat, do not prefer one direction of time. You could run the equations backward, and your lungs would still fill. Your blood would still circulate. Your thoughts would still flicker. But your experience tells you otherwise. You breathe in. You breathe out. One, then the other. Not both. Not reversed. So where does that feeling come from? That sense of order, that forwardness. Some say it's entropy again, the soft march toward dispersal. Others say it's biology, our need to survive in a world where decisions build on each other. But still others wonder if time only feels forward because our memories are lined up that way. Inhale again, deep, quiet. Now hold it just for a moment. Notice how still it feels, as if time, in this instant, has forgotten to move, and then let it go. Not because you must, but because you can. Feel how the moment changes. Not ends, but changes, like a note that fades without leaving the song. There's a beauty in reversibility, in the idea that what's done can, in some strange way, still touch what came before. You may not be able to undo a word or unmake a choice, but you may be able to reshape the meaning of what was, not by changing the event, but by breathing on it again, gently, with new awareness, new softness. The past doesn't have to freeze. It can melt. It can shimmer. It can grow warmer by how you remember it. In your body, carbon dioxide rises with each exhale. Your breath feeds trees, feeds algae, feeds the air, and they, in turn, create the oxygen that returns to you. It's a loop, but not a circle, more like a spiral, moving outward, forward, backward, all at once. There is no single direction here, only exchange, only transformation, only breath. You may think of your life as a line from childhood to now, to whatever comes next, but maybe it's more like breath, repetitive, gentle, cyclical, a returning that is never exactly the same. And what if, between your first breath and your last, all the others aren't arranged in a line at all? What if they exist like beads in water, bumping softly, pulling memory into shape? Let yourself float with that now, like a feather inside your own lungs. No need to grasp the metaphor. It already lives in you. Each breath is a memory and a possibility coiled together. Each inhale pulls the future close. Each exhale leaves a whisper in the past. There's no rule that says time must move, only experience that says it did. But breath is the body's way of marking presence, of saying I am here, still, again. And if the universe ever forgets time's direction, perhaps it will still remember how to breathe through you, with you, as you. So lie here now, quiet, soft, cradled by breath older than stars and younger than tomorrow. You don't have to choose a direction. You don't have to move at all. You're already part of the flow, not forward, not back, just now, breathing. The room appears slowly, not built, not constructed, but revealed as if it had always been waiting just behind the next breath. You step inside, and the floor doesn't creak. The light doesn't flicker. Nothing moves, but everything feels alive. It's a room from your past, maybe from childhood, or a dream of childhood, or a feeling that holds it. There's a window you forgot, a texture in the wallpaper, a colour you've never seen again, not quite. And the strangest part, you don't know when this moment belongs to. Is it yesterday? Is it 30 years ago? Is it even yours? All you know is that it feels like home, and the feeling arrives before the memory does. Let your breath match that sensation, not rushed, not searching, just slowly noticing what it already knows. Memory doesn't file itself like a library. It doesn't obey calendars, or clocks, or the firm footfalls of history. Instead, it arrives in scent, in temperature, in the slant of light through a forgotten window. Your mind does not say this came before that. It says this feels like that. And in that soft comparison, you are transported, not backward, but inward. In neuroscience, they call it pattern completion. Your brain holds fragments, partial shapes of the past, and when just enough of the pieces return, your mind fills in the rest, like a song remembered by hearing only 3 notes, like a face seen in the corner of the eye that unlocks an entire summer, and the past becomes real again, not in sequence, but in feeling. This is why you can smell an old book and suddenly feel 6 years old, why a certain melody can bring tears before you remember why some memories have no beginning and no story, just wait. You don't have to line them up. You don't have to know when they happened. They are not kept by time. They are kept by meaning. Let your breath grow quieter now, as if you're not breathing air but memory itself, as if each inhale pulls in a moment you forgot to carry with you, as if each exhale releases a version of you still lingering in that room. Not a ghost, not a regret, just a shape that once held you, and now lets you go. The hippocampus, that quiet seahorse-shaped organ in your brain, is often described as the key to memory. It helps form them, place them, weave them. But even the hippocampus doesn't store time perfectly. It clusters memories by similarity, by repetition, by emotional tone, not by date. Your brain is not a timeline. It is a field, and memories bloom in it whenever the conditions return. Some memories you can't summon on purpose, but they visit you anyway, when your fingers brush the right fabric, when the wind carries a familiar chill, when silence feels like it did once in a room with closed blinds, and the scent of something sweet you can't quite name, and suddenly you are there, not then, now, because the memory isn't replaying, it's rehappening, and you're not remembering, you're feeling. Let yourself feel that now. You don't need to follow a story. You don't need to organise the years. The past does not ask to be in order. It only asks to be acknowledged. And sometimes That's just a moment where your chest feels tight for no reason you can name, or where the sunlight looks too much like a summer you thought you forgot, and you pause and breathe, and the memory smiles without needing to explain itself. There's a kind of time inside you that does not move forward. It loops, it lingers, it rests. Your body remembers touch in ways the mind never records. Your skin holds the shape of old laughter. Your shoulders hold the weight of doors once closed. Your palms still know the warmth of someone you haven't seen in years. And none of this follows the arrow of time. It follows something softer, something curved, something like smoke. You walk through the room again. Nothing has changed, but something feels different. The memory has loosened. It no longer needs you to name it. It no longer needs to be understood. It's just here, and so are you, together, briefly, peacefully, and that is enough. Some scientists believe the brain constructs time rather than perceiving it. That now is not detected but invented. And if that's true, then your memories are not moments you store. They're realities you rebuild each time you visit. And you're not a keeper of time. You're a maker of it. You're the breath that turns stillness into a rhythm. You're the spark that turns feeling into memory. And you don't need to arrange any of it. You only need to let it arrive when it's ready. So take one more slow breath. Let your thoughts settle like dust in morning light. There's no need to find where the past belongs. It's not behind you. It's within you. And it's not finished yet. The ground beneath you is soft. Not like grass. Not like sand. But something gentler, a surface made not of matter, but of moments. You take a step, and instead of moving forward, you feel something curious, a shift, not in distance, in presence. You haven't gone anywhere, and yet the light is different. The feeling in the air has changed. You're still where you were, but not when. You've entered a place where time is no longer a direction but a landscape, and each breath you take moves you not forward, but around. Close your eyes now, if you haven't yet. Let your shoulders fall. Let your thoughts grow still. You're no longer walking a timeline. You're standing in time itself as if it were a field, and you were its dreamer. Here, the past is not behind. The future is not ahead. They are beside you, above you, beneath. Time surrounds you like mist around a mountain, and each step can take you deeper into any moment your heart chooses. Physicists sometimes speak of a model called the block universe. It's a way of imagining reality not as unfolding, but already there, all at once, past, present, and future existing simultaneously like rooms in a house you haven't entered yet. From within, you feel like you're moving through it, 1 second at a time, 1 breath at a time. But from outside there is no movement, only structure. Time, in this view, is not something that passes. It is something that is. Let that settle in your chest. You don't need to accept it. Just let it be soft, like a new language spoken only in silence. In this block universe, you're not a traveller. You're a visitor, an explorer, and each moment you inhabit does not disappear when you leave it. It remains unchanged, undiminished, and perhaps some quiet part of you remains there too. Imagine walking through a forest. Each tree is a year, each leaf a breath. You do not need to burn the trees to continue your journey. You do not need to erase one clearing to step into the next. You simply walk, and every place you've stepped remains. The rustle of your passage still echoes through the underbrush, the imprint of your feet still pressed into the moss. This is what time might be, not a fuse, but a forest, and you are not a matchstick, you are the wind. You don't need to remember every step. The forest remembers for you, the universe remembers for you. In physics, this idea appears in relativity. Einstein's equations don't prioritize the present. They don't insist on a universal now. Instead, they show how time bends, how time stretches, how time can be one thing to you and something else to someone moving differently. So what, then, is the present just a slice through the whole, like cutting through a cake? But knowing the rest of it is still there, even when you can't taste it. Let your breath move like a footstep through this forest. Each inhale a step into familiarity, each exhale a step into the unknown. You are not moving forward. You are weaving, threading, looping, flowing between pockets of awareness. You may wake tomorrow and feel like a different person, not because time moved, but because you moved through time. And the part of you who felt joy 5 years ago still exists, still hums softly in a clearing just beyond your reach. We tend to think that what has passed is gone, but what if the past is just elsewhere, still unfolding, still intact? And what if the future is not something that happens after now, but something that exists beside now, not created, discovered, like a room in the house you haven't opened yet? But the furniture is already there, the light is already on, waiting for you. And you don't have to rush. There's no need to sprint through this terrain. In fact, you can pause, sit beneath a tree, let a memory curl around your shoulders like a scarf woven from dusk. You can revisit, you can reimagine, you can rest, because in a block universe, nothing is lost, only shifted, only silent, only softly waiting to be remembered. Some thinkers call this view unsettling. If everything is already set, where is your freedom? But maybe freedom is not in choosing the structure, but in choosing where you are within it, in choosing how you feel, how you breathe, how you rest in each clearing. You may not shape the forest, but you choose where to linger, and that is enough. Take another deep breath. Let it carry you into a moment you haven't visited in a long time, not because you miss it, but because it misses you. Let it rise around you like fog over a quiet lake. No timeline, no urgency, only presence, only now, and the now beside it, and the now beyond it, all together, like stones in a river that doesn't flow but holds. So you see, time may not be a line, it may be a place. And you're not stuck on a path. You're a traveller in stillness, a presence moving through presence, a being walking through a garden that remembers every footfall and forgets none. And here, you are always home. You find yourself in a room made only of presence, no walls, no windows, only the steady hush of now. It's not quiet because it's empty, it's quiet because it's listening, as if the moment itself has curled up beside you and placed its head on your shoulder. And what you begin to notice so slowly, you almost miss it, is that this moment, this now, is not holding still. It's expanding, unfolding like smoke from a breath you didn't know you took. You sit in the center of something that's constantly becoming less centered, and yet, somehow, you don't feel lost. You feel wide. Take a breath. Let it bloom slowly in your chest. Let it dissolve even more slowly on the way out. You don't need to hold on to anything. Not this breath, not this moment, not this thought. Because even now, the now is changing. It always is. What is the present? It feels like a point, a flicker, the narrowest edge between what was and what will be. But is it really when we speak? Each syllable takes time. When we act, each gesture unfolds. The now is not a dot, it's a field, a soft zone of awareness with edges too blurry to define. And when you try to hold it, to grip it, it slides not away from you, but into everything else. Because the present isn't static. It isn't a step. It's a collapse. A quiet merging of possibility into memory. Physicists call it wave function collapse. In quantum mechanics, particles don't exist in just one place or state. They exist in probabilities waves of potential until something is measured, observed, interacted with, and then collapse. The particle chooses a position, a value, a reality. But was it really a choice? Or was it just the world folding itself into this one expression of many? Let your mind drift here. There's no need to grasp the math. No need to draw lines between theories. Just imagine this. The present moment is not a pause. It is a resolution. The universe, in every breath, is collapsing its probabilities into what you call now, and then again and again. Not like ticking, but like breathing. Not like marching, but like blooming. You might wonder if the present is always collapsing. Is there ever a moment that truly is, or is it always already becoming was? This question has haunted philosophers and physicists for centuries. Some argue there is no true present, that it's an illusion stitched by your mind to make sense of a constantly updating world. Others argue that now is all that truly exists, that the past is gone, the future unreal, and the present the only candle still lit. But what if both are wrong? What if the now isn't a point or an illusion but a process? A soft unfolding, a drift, like a petal falling through time. Take another slow breath. Let it feel as if the inhale began a second before you noticed it, and the exhale continues a second longer than you meant it to. This is the nature of the present, not caught, not frozen, but experienced as it vanishes, and yet never lost. Because even as it collapses, it leaves behind the shape of what it became. Your memories are not of moments held still. They're of moments that were caught mid-collapse, moments that flickered just long enough to be felt before drifting into becoming. And the present you live in now is already slipping into the next, not falling, not breaking, but stretching, like a river that never empties, like a bell that continues to ring long after it's been struck. There's a theory in physics called the presentist view. It holds that only the present exists, that the past is no longer real, and the future is not yet real. But even this idea struggles with definition. How long is the present? A second A blink, the time it takes for light to reach your eyes? Or is it longer, the time it takes to love, to lose, to remember? These don't fit in milliseconds. They spill, they blur, they bend. And so, perhaps, the present is like music. Not a note, not a beat, but a phrase, a lingering chord, a harmony between moments just departed and ones just arriving. You never hear just a single note. You hear it in relation to what came before. The present is a measure of resonance, and your life is the song it carries. Let yourself be part of that song now. You don't have to know the melody. You don't have to hold the rhythm. Just rest in the hum, in the soft collapse of this moment into the next. And if it feels like something is fading, don't reach for it. Let it become what it's becoming. Let the now fold itself gently into memory. And know this: you're not late. You're not early. You're not behind. You're in the center of a process that only ever happens once but always continues. You're the only version of this moment that will ever exist, and you're not missing it. You're within it. So when you feel the now slipping away, remember it was never yours to hold. It was yours to witness, to breathe, to feel. And as it fades, it leaves you changed. Slightly, subtly, softly, exactly as it should. You're floating now, not upward, not across, but inward. The world around you shrinks not in size, but in detail. Surfaces dissolve, edges fade, and before long, you're no longer in the realm of things you can touch. You're inside something smaller, more delicate, more mysterious. Not atoms. Smaller than that, particles. Specifically, 2 particles. They are far apart in space, in light, in everything measurable. And yet, somehow, they still know each other. They still move as if they were listening to the same invisible music. They are entangled, and time doesn't seem to matter. Let your breath follow that same strange rhythm, not the rhythm of time, the rhythm of connection. 2 lungs, 1 breath, 2 thoughts, 1 awareness. You don't need to count it, just feel it, like a thread pulled softly between 2 distant hearts. Quantum entanglement, it sounds poetic, and it is, but it's also real, stranger than fiction, tested, proven, still not fully understood. Here's how it goes. 2 particles interact briefly. They become linked. Their properties spin, position, momentum become correlated. And then, no matter how far they drift apart, what happens to one will instantly affect the other. Not delayed, not signalled, instant, even across light years. It violates no known law, and yet it violates every instinct. How can something happen now when the 2 particles aren't in the same time? Let your breath stretch a little longer now, as if it, too, is entangled with something distant, some feeling, some version of you half a galaxy away. The present moment isn't local. It stretches with awareness. Just like those particles, you touch one and something else responds. Not from the outside, but from the inside of the universe's deepest structure. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. He didn't like it. It felt too mystical, too immediate, and yet again and again. Experiments show it's real. Measure 1 particle, and its twin settles instantly, not when the information arrives, but as if the separation was never real to begin with. And if space can be an illusion, why not time? Maybe you too are entangled, not just with a person or a place, but with a moment from years ago that still vibrates inside you. A moment from the future that's already beginning to glow. Maybe time, at its smallest scale, doesn't separate, it weaves. There's a theory, whispered in quantum halls, that entanglement may be the fundamental fabric of space-time itself, that what we call distance is just the absence of connection, and what we call now is what happens when entangled things feel each other. Which means time isn't a ticking clock. It's a feeling of coherence, of resonance, of rhythm. Let your mind rest in that. You don't have to figure it out. You don't even have to remember it. Just feel how even in stillness, you are connected to your past self, to someone you've never met, to a future version of you who already knows how this story ends. You don't need to rush to meet them. They're already part of you, entangled, echoing, responding softly in silence. Perhaps this is why you sometimes feel déjà vu, not a trick, not a glitch, but a moment where the tangled threads tug at each other just enough for the present to shimmer. You pause, and for a breath, you are aware that time isn't linear, it's relational. You're not walking down a road, you're standing at a crossroads where every direction feels familiar. Take a breath. Let it fall as if it knows where it's going even when you don't, because it does. The body remembers, the mind entangles, the soul waits until the music plays in both directions, and then you dance. There are physicists now trying to understand if entanglement can transmit information, not data, but structure, memory. And some suggest that what we call now is not about time at all, but about entanglement density. The more things are entangled, the more present they feel. Maybe this is why some moments feel more alive. They are more connected. You aren't remembering them. You're still in them. They are still in you, and distance has nothing to say about it. So when you miss someone, or feel a past version of yourself rising quietly into thought, maybe that's not nostalgia. Maybe that's entanglement. Maybe their particles still hum in yours. Maybe time never moved at all. Rest in that idea, not as science, not as fact, but as feeling. You are not separated from your moments. You're still in orbit with them, even now, especially now, because now, for all its silence, is filled with every version of you that's ever felt. And that feeling, that strange, tender rhythm between past and future, it doesn't tick, it pulses, like quantum particles remembering each other across the spaces where time pretends to keep them apart. You open your eyes, but the world you wake into doesn't feel like today, or yesterday, or tomorrow. It feels like something in between. A moment that has already been shaped but not yet lived. The air is still, but not empty. There's a quiet hum beneath everything, as if the day itself is waiting for its cue, waiting for you to step into it. But you don't know if this day has already happened or if it's still coming, because something about it feels known. Like a song you've never heard, but somehow remember exactly how it goes. Let your breath meet this moment gently. No need to label it. No need to ask if it's real. Just let it settle around your body like warm air at sunrise. You're not late to this moment, and you are not early. You're exactly when you need to be, and perhaps when was never the question. There's an idea in physics that time is not a moving thing, yet we do not travel through it. We exist within it all at once. Your birth, your last breath, your next thought, all embedded in the vast, frozen structure we call space-time. But here's the wonder: you don't experience time like a block. You feel it as a river. You don't see all moments. You live one, and then another, and then another. But somewhere beyond your perception, they are already there, already complete, already humming with quiet certainty. This is the strange beauty of the day that hasn't happened yet. It isn't truly waiting. It's unfolding. It knows what it will become. And maybe some part of you does too. Maybe you've felt it, those moments of déjà vu, of certainty without memory, when you stand in a place you swear you've never seen but feel you've known forever. Perhaps it isn't memory. Perhaps it's time folding slightly, letting you touch the corner of a moment not yet lived. In theoretical physics, there's something called the future boundary condition, a proposition that the future can shape the present just as the past does, not in the way of magic, but in the way of symmetry. If the laws of physics are time reversible, then the conditions at the end of the universe can influence what happens now. Cause and effect begin to blur. You pull the string and the fabric tightens not just behind you, but ahead. Some physicists even wonder, do we walk through time? Or does time fold around us? Let yourself rest in that question. You don't have to answer it. You only have to breathe within it, as if your breath is part of the unfolding itself. And in some way maybe it is, because the body feels things before the mind explains them. The heart stirs before the reason arrives. The hands know when to reach before the head says yes. Maybe the future isn't hidden. Maybe it's whispering from just behind the veil, and maybe you're already listening. There's a strange comfort in imagining that what you become already exists, not fated, not fixed, but present in another room of the same house, and all you're doing now is walking the hallway toward it. You don't have to run. You don't have to force the door. It's already open, and the version of you who lives there already knows you're on your way. Take another slow breath. Let it feel like a key to a lock you've never touched but always sensed. You may think of the future as the unknown, but perhaps it's just the part of you that hasn't been remembered yet, not imagined, remembered, as if, deep in the folds of your being, you've already lived tomorrow, and the day you walk into next is not a surprise but a return. Some philosophers say the feeling of time's flow is just consciousness passing through the pages of a book already written. Others say the book is still being written, that your choices shape its ending, and others still believe the truth is both that the book exists, but you hold the pen, that each turn of the page reveals something that always was, but also becomes real only when seen. And in this strange, luminous paradox, you're both reader and writer, witness and creator, traveller and home. So when you feel a sense that something is coming but you don't know what, don't rush to name it. Don't rush at all. Let it rise. Let it breathe with you. Let it settle like morning fog in a place you've never walked but always known. Because the day you step into may not be brand new. It may be the echo of something you've already lived somewhere beyond memory. Somewhere where time folds inward instead of onward. And what happens then? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Maybe you sip your tea and for one long breath, you know it. You know that the moment you're living has already smiled in your direction, already welcomed you, already softened at your arrival. Not because you arrived on time, but because you were always meant to be there. So now, rest here, not at the edge of what comes next, but in the center of what's already waiting. You don't need to prepare. You don't need to predict. Just breathe. The day you thought would arrive tomorrow may already be unfolding in you. And you're exactly where you need to be to meet it. There is water now. You didn't step into it. You simply found yourself here, drifting, not swimming, not steering, just carried, as if time had become liquid and you, a leaf resting in its palm. There's no urgency in this current, no rush, no destination, only motion without resistance. You look to your right and see the surface rippling back toward where you've come from. You look to your left and the water ahead reflects a light that hasn't reached your face yet. And then you notice something strange both directions. Look the same. Neither feels before, neither feels after. They only feel present. Take a breath now, as if you're drawing in that river its patience, its rhythm, its memory. Let it settle in your chest like cool mist rising from a spring. There's nothing you need to do. No moment you need to chase. You are not behind. You are not ahead. You are within, floating inside time as if it were a mirror without a frame. Some philosophers say you cannot step into the same river twice, because the water has changed, and so have you. But what if? The river remembers. What if the current holds every reflection you've ever placed upon its surface, every sigh, every joy, every question you whispered into the silence just before sleep? Still there, still shimmering somewhere upstream, or downstream, or both. In physics, there's a symmetry to time that refuses to pick sides. The equations that govern motion, energy, probability, they work forward and they work backward, like a river that doesn't flow but simply exists. Still wet, still wide, but not moving. It's you who's moving, through the water, through awareness, and the river itself is always whole. Let that thought soften your hands, unclench your shoulders. You don't need to grip this moment. It is already holding you. There is no danger of being swept away. You're not in a stream. You're in a stillness that happens to shimmer, and the shimmer feels like movement. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's reflection. Imagine time as a river with no current, only presence. And when you move within it, your movement creates the ripple. Your memory is not a boat's wake, but a mirror. You see what you pass. You remember what you've seen. But the river itself remembers it all, without needing to choose which way the water runs. Some theoretical physicists believe that if we could stand outside time, we'd see the whole thing at once, like a painting, not a film. Moments would not be strung like beads but laid side by side, simultaneous, still humming with invisible light. From this view, your past hasn't left, your future hasn't arrived. They are simply elsewhere in the painting, and the present is where you've placed your gaze. Have you ever stood beside a stream and watched your own reflection ripple? You see your face, but not quite. A smile blurred by motion, a memory distorted by the shape of the water, and yet you know it's you, even without clarity, even without certainty. Maybe time sees us that way too. Maybe every version of you, the one 5 years ago, the one 5 years from now, is shimmering somewhere on the same surface, not lost, not waiting, just reflecting differently. Let your breath meet that surface now. Let it break gently a ripple, a soft distortion, and as you exhale, watch the circle expand in every direction, not forward, not back, just outward, like awareness itself, like love, like the unmeasurable things that still somehow leave footprints. There is no tide to this river, only presence, no edges, only depth, and in its stillness, you are both the viewer and the view, the dreamer and the dream. You might not remember everything you've seen, you might not yet understand what you'll become, but the river does. It remembers without judgment, reflects without choosing, holds without gripping. It is the shape of your time, and your time is not passing. It is surrounding you, like water, like wind, like thought. Some physicists ask if we can't detect the flow of time. Is it really flowing? Or is it just that our minds build a sense of sequence to make meaning from stillness? You feel time move because you change, because one thought follows another, because the brain wants order. But outside of that, the river never chose a direction, it just exists. So here you are, drifting, but not drifting away, floating, but not being carried, still, yet still experiencing movement in your bones. And you don't need to decide if this is memory or prophecy. It can be both, or neither, or simply now. Let yourself lie back, let the surface hold you, and if you glance down and see your own eyes rippling toward you, smiling, crying, changing, know this, that version of you is still here, always here, reflected not because it must be, but because it can be. Because in this river, time is not a line, it is a shimmer. And you are the shimmer's light. You're sitting now, hands wrapped gently around a teacup. It's warm, familiar, the kind of warmth that doesn't ask for attention, it simply is, like the low hum of a memory you haven't visited in years. You stir the tea slowly, watching the liquid spiral not with urgency, but with grace. Circles within circles, a small current that carries leaves into a dance they never rehearsed, and in the centre, a pause, stillness, a quiet heart amid motion. It's only tea, and yet it's not, because as you watch it move, you begin to sense something deeper, time in a cup. Take a breath, let it echo that motion, a gentle inhale, widening outward like the swirl, a slower exhale, settling inward toward the centre. You're not racing through time, you're observing it, watching it curve and fold in this small familiar circle. The tea is not hurrying, and neither are you. There's a phenomenon called the tea leaf paradox. When you stir tea in a cup, you might expect the leaves to be thrown outward to the edge of the whirlpool, but instead they gather at the centre. It's because of the subtle pressure differences, the shape of the cup, the drag at the bottom. But more than that, it's a reminder that what seems like outward motion might actually return inward, that things don't always move where we expect, that time, like the tea, doesn't always drift away. Sometimes it circles back, sometimes it collects itself, sometimes it hides in the centre. You sip the tea. The flavour doesn't tell you when it was made. It only tells you you're here now. But in its warmth, there's memory. In its bitterness, a lesson. In its sweetness, a moment you've already known somewhere in the future. And you realise you're not just drinking tea, you're drinking sequence. You're tasting time made small enough to hold. Some physicists believe that infinity isn't far away, that it isn't vast or unreachable, that it lives in small things, contained things, a drop of water, a strand of hair, a cup of tea. In each of these might be hidden a structure that stretches beyond comprehension, like a fractal shape that repeats itself no matter how closely you zoom. The swirl in your tea might look like a spiral galaxy, the motion of leaves like weather systems on a giant planet, and time. Time may not be a straight line, but a spiral too, always circling, never repeating exactly, but echoing itself in form. Let your thoughts slow now. You don't need to remember this. Just feel the truth that sometimes, to understand the vastness of time, you only need to look into something small, like a teacup. There's a concept in general relativity called closed time-like curves. In theory, under certain gravitational conditions, a path through space-time could loop back on itself. A traveller could follow it and return to the same point they began. Not in space, but in time. A circle made from moments. It hasn't been proven, and perhaps it never will. but the math allows it, and as you stir the tea, you wonder, what if we are already moving in such curves? What if every day is not new but familiar in some hidden way? What if the people you meet again were never really gone? What if your own life is made of loops so subtle you mistake them for lines? You watch the last of the spiral fade into stillness. The leaves, as before, gather at the centre, not because they were pulled, but because they remember where they came from, and perhaps so do you. Perhaps you're not only walking through time, you're returning to a version of yourself you almost became once. Perhaps each choice curves gently inward until you find yourself facing a future that tastes like memory. Let that idea rest beside your breath. You're not wandering, you're spiraling, and the centre was never far away. It was beneath the surface, in every breath, in every still moment between action and reflection, like tea leaves at rest. Maybe the present isn't a crossroads, but a gathering, a place where everything you've touched swirls softly back into you, the scent of your mother's cooking, the feel of sunlight on the back of your hand, the silence after someone says I remember you, not just memory, not just time, but presence, made visible in motion. Take another slow sip of air, taste it. Let it swirl through your lungs as gently as tea in porcelain. You don't need to stir anything. The motion continues on its own. And in that motion, in that quiet spiral, you're not just watching time. You're within it. Not as a passenger, not as a prisoner, but as the centre of your own unfolding. So the next time you stir a cup, or watch rain spiral down a drain, or see smoke curl from a candle, remember the curve is not chaos, the spiral is not escape. It is the shape of things returning to themselves. It is the motion of moments coming home. And time. Time may never have been a straight line. It may have always been a teacup, and you're the warmth that never spills.